Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I started the recording as well. So let me quickly see. We are about 12 or 13 or 15, and the numbers will go up, but I think we can use this as a interactive kind of session as well. I want nearly I think we can go through one of the papers, that we just get some more exercise in, and we can look at certain of the questions. We can do that, continue that on Saturday as well in our session, and then on over the weekend, basically, you can send a few questions to the WhatsApp group, and we can check that on Monday, or nearly on Monday, have a open mic kind of event as well, that you just ask questions and we see if we can answer it before you write on Tuesday. Okay, so hopefully everybody can see the screen. So what I'm now going to do is, let's quickly go to that. I'm basically going to go through the paper that was written last year for this time. I think it's a good one to go through. It's also, as you would have seen out of previous papers, there's a lot of the papers that are being reused. So again, I think it's good for practice. And I know there's some of the guys that on the chat as well said there's not a lot of time to do everything. So I think practice some of the papers on the Dropbox links. There's also previous papers with some answers as well. So I think practice, just if you don't have enough time to go through all the study units now, still listen to some of the videos. There's some videos that links have been shared on the group as well. So rather than focus on that. So let's start with the May paper, or last year's paper. And please, as this is still a smallish group, we can, if there's things that you want to ask as we go along, please do. So basically, in question one, and I think that is also important when you look at a paper like this paper, it's not, and I think that is very important for the DSC paper. It doesn't flow in the process that some of the other papers will, that it starts with study unit 1, and the next set of questions will be study unit 2, the next set of questions will be the next one. So I think just from that point of view as well, if I start with question 1 and it's integration or differentiation or something that's more difficult, nearly skip it and go to the next one, that you first just build up some confidence. So let's start with this one. It's at least not too difficult. I'm just looking for a pen. Okay, so basically, suppose the cost of manufacturing 10 units of a product is 40 Rand, and the cost of manufacturing 20 units is 70 Rand. If a cost C is linearly related to output Q, the cost of producing 35 items is. Okay, so big question, what will you do here? And anybody that wants to take a stab at it, what do you think we should do? Anybody? So you basically need to nearly get a formula that you can then work the cost out. So it's nearly you need to work out a formula, then with the formula needs to contain the price and the Q so that you can work out the total cost for 35 items. Okay, so the first thing I would do is your formula would be the straight line, so it will be and let's start writing a bit here. So your formula would be in the mx plus c kind of that you will need to work with. You will use that basically to put in with 35. So there's two things that you need to get. You need to work out the slope, and you nearly need to work out the y-intercept. Okay, so firstly, to work out the slope. So let's see what they tell us. Suppose the cost of 10 units. So we know that the x is 10. Let's make that for y. Of a product is 40 Rand. Okay, so that is your 1 point that we have. Cost of manufacturing 20 units is 70. Okay, so that's the next point that you have. So basically, we have those 2 points, so you can work out your M. So your M is normally your difference in y divided by the difference in x. It doesn't matter which point you use first. So you can say 40 minus 70, or you can say 70 minus 40. It really doesn't make a difference as long as you do the same with the other one. So, and let me show you it. So if you say 40 minus 70, and then the other one will be 10 minus 20. So if you did that, you would have gotten minus 50 at the top, minus 10 at the bottom, so you would have gotten 3. If you set 70 minus 40, and you set then 20 minus 10, you would have gotten 30 at the top, 10 at the bottom, and you would have gotten the same answer. Okay, so I think that is just, so in the exam, don't be too worried if it's you use the x1 first, or if you use the x2 first. It actually doesn't matter. Okay, so now we've got the m, so we know that y is equal to 3x plus c. So the only thing that they do give us is they give us 2 points. So this is basically going back to some of the maths that we need to do. So we need to basically, and again, I assume it doesn't matter which one you put in. But if you set the 10 there, plus c, and that is equal to 40, you will get that c is equal to 10. if you used the other point, it would have been 70 is equal to 3 times 20 plus C, so C again would have been equal to 10. Okay, so again, doesn't matter which point you used. If you used that one or that one, you would get the same answer. So I just think that is also important, that when you find C, it is, again, you can use any one of the 2 points. And then basically you put in y is equal to 3 times 35, because that is what you are looking for, plus 10. And then your y will be equal to, that is 105 plus 15, so it will be 115, which is then option 3. Okay, so, but I think what's important here is that don't be too worried which point you use. Don't be too worried when you work out the m, that which one you subtract from the other one. As long as you do the same thing consistently, then you will get the same answer. Anybody have queries on this one?
Hi, Jean, I have a question.
Yes, ask.
Sorry, I may have missed this because I joined a few minutes late, but I just wanted to confirm. I see you've used that the quantity is the x coordinate and the price is the y coordinate. When I first worked through this question, I did it the other way around, and then I got the wrong answer. So is it true that the x will always be the quantity and the y will always be the price?
See, and I think that is what is important. It depends on what you're working out. So if you look at your, so this one, we basically need to work out the cost. So then it will be that order. So did you say that your, see, so you need to also, the other thing is, so that is how I normally see it. So that's why the price is seen as your y and your quantity is seen as your x as well. So if you normally look at the price and quantity diagram, that is how it would look like.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. It's just that when I did it, instead of the m being 3, the m was then, I think it was 1/3.
Yes,
So
it would have been a third then, yeah, because it's just, yes, it's just the opposite. Was there actually an answer for that as well?
I think I kind of stopped and realized that I was doing it wrong, so I didn't follow through with it. So I'm not actually sure if I would have arrived at the same answer.
But if what you probably would have, because it's 1 divided by 3, you probably would have gotten the 0.33 of one of those.
Yes, I think that's exactly what happened.
You would have probably gotten that answer, yes. But I always see it as the price and quantity, how you would have drawn it if you had a demand and supply kind of equation as well. So
Okay,
that is how I would normally do it.
Okay, thank you so much.
No. That is, I think this is the time to actually ask for questions. Yeah, see, so the demand formula is a different formula, and you need to, in a sense, put it in the right order again to create it that it's the same as this one. And I think that is also, that if you used the demand formula, it would give you a different answer, because this one, if you look at it, will be doing that. And I think that is, it's where the demand formula will, if I'm right, I think that is demand and that is supply. I am right, eh?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes, okay. So I was just now, so you would see that with a supply, it basically, it will go through 10 there. When it is 0, so it basically would do that. Your demand will then, it will be the other way around, unless you then write it in the function that it looks like the supply function. But then you need to turn everything around. So it is nearly, if you worked with a demand, you nearly needed to say 1 divided by that answer. So it would have been 1 divided by a third, which would have given you a 3 again. So you needed to, but that now goes into too much of, so just, I would just say, remember the how it looks on the price and quantity, the Y and the X. That's nearly an easier way of looking at it. Okay, so let's look at the next one. And
Sorry,
yes,
sir. Yes. I understand the confusion with the previous question, because in our studies and our study material, they've indicated that the quantity is on the vertical axis and the price is on the horizontal axis, and so
Yes.
that's how we've determined our demand function and our supply function.
Yes, and that's why I know I've also looked at that study guide. So and that's why it is confusing, because if you look at, so because it's, and question 2, 3, and 4 is nearly, because it's always written out of the cost, the quantity. Where this one is written the other way around, because you need to work out, so you're not writing it in the function as in the queue, but it's the other way around. And I think that is what is confusing with this one.
Yes, sir.
So, and you probably would have gotten one of the other options if you worked it the other way around.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, I know that it, and basically the what unfortunately it creates is that you when you're in the exam and you do it this way, or if you did it the other way, you start questioning yourself when you start with the next question, because
I see, sir.
Because now suddenly it is written in how you were actually learning it out of a study guide.
Yes, sir.
And I think that is, unfortunately, and I know a lot on the WhatsApp, we're also talking about it. It is confusing, because it's not as one follows the other one.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Cool, no problem. Please ask the questions, because I think that's important. We've got 3 sessions before you write, so let's rather, as we work through, ask for questions. We're still a small group, so happy.
Okay. Thanks a lot, sir.
Okay, let's go to question 2, and question 2, it's nearly, if you have that formula page or that summary that I've done, so you need to get to your total revenue, and total revenue is basically, I think we always write it as P times Q. So that is, and for this one, it is straightforward. So we know what Q is, So we can just write it as E, and then Q is and that then, so again, let's see what are the options. So here's a P outside like we have it, but there the P is to the square and it's not, so that it's not that answer. Let's look at that one. That's only what is inside, so it's not that answer. So it's one of these two. So the answer is then 6,000 P minus 30 P square. So again, option 3. Okay, so this one was more straightforward, and yes, they give a lot of information, but it's also that you can work out question 3 and 4. So for this one, basically straightforward, you need to write out what is the total revenue. Total revenue is P times Q, and then you work it out with the 6,000 P minus the 30 P to the power of 2. Okay, this one, no problem. The thing that they nearly want to check here is you are multiplying the P with a P. That's why you get the square root. So there wasn't a negative in front of that to make it a positive. So you just keep that one as is when you multiply it with a P. Okay, so let's go to question 3 and let's see what they want in question 3, because now probably it will be all marginal cost or profits or anything like that. So let's look at the question. Again, it's the same information. They ask, what is the company's profit function? Okay, so how do we calculate profit? Okay, so profit is basically your total revenue minus your total cost. Okay, so let's just also see. So we already have the total revenue. So that was the the 6,000 P minus the 30 P square. I'm always worried with these questions because if you have that one wrong, you're nearly going to have this one wrong, and then you're probably going to have that one wrong as well. So I'm always worried when they put that in the exam, and I normally say that there won't be a lot of them, but this was last year's paper, and it was basically 3 questions that if you add that one wrong, you will probably get the next 2 wrong as well. So let's just look at what else they tell us. So we need to work out what is the total cost. So we still need to understand what is the total cost. So that was your total revenue. So let's see, what is our total cost? So what would you guys say is our total cost? Okay, so again, if you look at total cost, basically your total cost will be, they give us the cost function, which is cool, and they give us the demand, so they give us the Q. Okay, so we need to still, then for the total cost, use that. Otherwise, we're sitting with a profit function with a p-value in it and a q-value. If they set to us the cost function with q, because that is also something that they can do with q equal to something, you could have had q equal there, or you can then put it in here, so then you at least would have, but they don't give us q, so we need to work then with a function where q is equal to something. So we need to, and I must just make sure that I'm working with a positive. That is a positive, yes. Minus 50p. So your total cost function then is equal to 5,000. 2 times 6,000 is 12,000. I think that's enough. And 2 times 50 is then minus 60. And that is P. So then still total revenue, which is 6,000 P minus 50 P square. I think where now you need to remember, so it's minus, and then I normally just want to put in everything first before I start to multiply it out with a minus, so that I don't get my signs confused. So I still have 6,000 P minus 50 P square minus 17,000 plus 60p. Okay, and then if I put all of that together, it is minus 50 p square. So you can look at, that's not the answer. That plus that is plus 600 or 6,060 p. So that tells me that is not the answer. And then minus 17,000. So again, option 3. Okay, that's weird. So we had 3 option 3s. So my theory still holds. If you don't know the answer, guess option 3. So yes, so basically we needed to work out the profit. The profit you get by subtracting or take total revenue minus total cost. And then you need to, because in your total cost, you don't know what Q is, so you need to nearly put the formula of Q into that formula of total cost. Then you solve it and you subtract the 2. Okay, happiness with that. Then we can go on to the next one. So I think with the first question was a bit different. I think that one we haven't seen in some of the assignments in that form. 2, 3, and 4 is what you've seen in the assignments as well. I just think the thing with this one is that you basically need to, unfortunately, work from one to the other. And there can maybe be a mistake creeping in that can cost you a mark or two. Okay, so let's look at question 4. So, at what price is revenue at a maximum? Okay, so what do we do to get that? What do you guys think we must do? So do we have a total revenue? So again, we're working with a total revenue. So it was the was with 6,000. I must just now look at it, but I don't. But I must just write it correctly over, that I don't make a mistake with some of the signs. Okay, so that is my total revenue. So how do I work out what the maximum is? Anybody want to take a guess? Cool. Find the turning point of your total revenue curve. Okay. And that again is, you need to remember that the turning point is minus b over 2a. Okay. And then let's just rewrite this in the form that we have that is A and that is B, so that we just have it in the form that we are used to. So minus B is minus 6,000 over 2 times A. So it is minus 6,000 over minus 60, if I'm correct, and that gives you 100. So 100. And that is just another thing that is important here is, remember, this was P. If they ask us the quantity, we would have needed to use all that value back into the formula, or we needed to work out just what is then the other value. So just remember again, if it was, so if that was with P and Q again, that is probably going something like that. So that's why it has a maximum turning point at 100. So if I wanted the quantity, you would have just needed to use that 100 and put it back into your original total revenue curve, just so that you, if I ask it the other way around, you at least know what you can do. So you still work out what your turning point would have been, but you then just work out the other value as well. So it would have been interesting if that was one of the options. Let me just, for interest's sake, check. No, okay, at least not. But just that if you need to work it out the other way around, you still know what to do. Okay, so that basically covers some of the total revenue, total cost. They could, in the total cost, they can also ask you, so let's quickly, the other thing in here, so we've worked out the total cost. Remember what total cost is: variable cost plus fixed cost. And that is normally your fixed cost component, and that is normally your variable cost component. So just also remember that if we needed to answer something like that in here as well. Okay, so let's look at the next question. Question 5. Yes, is there a question? Or everybody happy?
Mr. John, I just want to ask you something. I've done mathematics a few years ago. I just want to confirm with you, what's the difference between the turning point and the B minus formula? When do you use the B minus formula?
The B minus formula, that long one.
Yes.
The what is it again?
It's the x equals minus b plus minus the
Yes.
square root. The square root of b b square minus
4ac divided by 2a.
Yes.
Okay, so that would have been what you would have with that. Let me just quickly come on. Right, just a bit better for you. So what you would have done if you did that, you would have gotten those 2 points where it crosses the x. So you would have gotten the roots, basically, those two points. Okay, so that's the difference. So you would have gotten where it cuts the x line, basically.
Okay, so it's safe to say that the B minus formula is when you calculate the roots of a function.
Yes, yes.
Cool. Thank you. Whereas the turning point is where it's either maximum or minimum. Precisely. Cool. Thank you.
And the other thing that I think it's also important, and it's also in the notes, is that you look at, so when that, where your A is, so where your A is negative, it will always be a maximum. If your A was positive, it would have been the other way around, so you would have had a minimum. So also just, I think, it can be that they say, give you 2 or 3 options where they say 100 is the minimum, 100 is the maximum. So also there's that they can ask, like in your elasticities, they normally have the number and they say it's inelastic or elastic or something like that. It can be that they say your price revenue, work out what the price revenue is and say if it's a minimum or maximum. And that you can then determine by if what is the sign in front of the A. Okay, so that's just, again, part of the maths nearly behind it. Okay, any other questions? Yes, I've also saw that the graph is smiling, kind of, in a comment somewhere else. So yeah, yes, it's positive when it's smiling. Easy to remember. Okay, question 5. A company manufactures bicycle pumps each pump sells for 50 Rand. And the variable cost of producing each unit is 9% of a selling price. Okay, so this is not as simple as just say it is 9%. I'm just writing it down there of the selling price. So we need to remember that. The monthly fixed cost incurred by the company is 50,000. So I normally will always start with, and just to write, total cost is equal to variable cost plus fixed cost. Even before I look at anything else that I need to do. And then they ask, what is the break-even point rounded off to the nearest integer for the company? Okay, so what happens at break-even point? And I think that is the first thing that, so when is it break-even point? Okay,
when
so
total cost equals total revenue.
Okay, total cost equals total revenue.
Or when profit is equal to 0.
Does it? Okay, cool. So that's the other one. So so basically when you say total revenue minus total cost is equal to 0, because that is also your profit function. So that's the two ways that you can work it out. So basically, let's see what they are telling us. And the other thing, total revenue, as we would have seen, where was it? In this one, total revenue is P times Q. So it's nearly, again, a few formulas that we need to remember. So let's see, can we work out P times Q? Each pump sells for 50. So we nearly have that total revenue will be 50Q. Okay, so that's the one sorted out. So there and there it's sorted out. And then what will total cost be? So total cost, as we said, it will be variable cost plus fixed cost. So fixed cost is the easy one. It's with plus 50,000. Okay, so what will the variable cost be? So your variable cost will be something times Q. So how will we work that out? So it says, and the variable cost of producing each unit is 9% of the selling price. So basically we know the selling price was 50. So 9% of 50 is 4.5. So that 4.5 is basically when we said 9% times the 50. So just again, the link to that selling price. Okay, so we have then your total cost function as well. So we can basically then say 50Q is equal to 4.5 Q plus the 50,000. So I'm taking all of it to that side, so that gives me, nearly made a mistake, 45.5 Q if I'm right. On this side it is still the 50,000, and then I divide the 50,000 divided by 45.5, which gives me 1098.9. So I round it off to the nearest integer as they say. So it will be 1099. Also in the exam, they will not give you the option as 1098 and 1099. Because I'm always to the point that at least they said round it off to the nearest integer, because I would have said, well, you can't produce 0.901 of a product, but they said you need to round it off to the nearest one. So then you round it off to the 1099. But they will not in the exam give you the option of 1098 and 1099 as an option. That will just not happen. So you don't need to worry about that. Okay, so actually there was a lot of questions in this paper on total cost, total revenue. Needed to know that total cost is equal to total revenue, where profit is equal to 0. So there was actually a few questions in this paper on that. Okay, happiness up until this point. Then we can move on to question 6. And let's look what this is about. So employees at a certain company prefer buying hamburgers at their cafeteria. There is usually a demand for 100 hamburgers when the price is 25 Rand. It is known that for each 1 Rand increase in price, demand decreases by 1 hamburger. Determine the demand function with quantity demanded Q as function of price. Whew. Okay, this is quite a mouthful, if no pun intended in that one. Sure. Okay, so basically you need to look at as the one increases, the other one decreases. Okay, so let's see what. So if I had my M again, and I just now need to keep. So there's usually a demand for 100 hamburgers when the price is this. It is known that for each 1 Rand increase in price, so if price goes up with 1, the demand decreases by 1. Okay, so the change in price goes up 1, the change in Q goes down 1. Okay, so it is basically 1 divided by 1, but it's minus, so your M will be equal to -1. So we're now sitting, and I think this is where we now again, is it demand or is it, so determine the demand function. And I think that is again where so the demand function, that would have been the supply function, that is the demand function. So now it's important, how do we write the demand function? So, and if we look at some of these, it is written in the formula of Q is equal to. And I think that ties again back to what the gentleman said at the beginning for question 1. How you would have done it in your normal study guide is Q now is equal to your M times B plus C. Okay, because now we are looking at the demand function. So that again is just, I think what is important with this one is, if it was the supply function, then we would have done it as in question 1. But we need to work out the demand function. So we have Q is equal to minus P plus C. So just what I would have done is I have a point here, so I have a point of 25 and 100. So I have a point where I can say my P is 25, my Q is 100, so I can put that into the formula. Plus C, so I know that C is equal to 75. Okay, so when I look at weight, I was looking at that, and so it's not 75. So it's minus this side, so if I take it over to that side, it becomes 125. And again, very easily, because I saw the 75 there, so I was like, I would have nearly gotten just to that without even looking at the mistake that I actually would have made. So quickly looking at that, C equal to 125, it's not that one, so it's probably that one, not that one. Maybe, but if we look in there, it would have been 75 as well. So we actually can just say it is that one, but let's just look at the equation again. So Q is equal to minus P plus 125, because we now just substitute the value of that into that formula or into that formula. Okay, so that we basically have the minus P plus the 125, which is option 2. But very easily, if I didn't now pick it up, I probably in the exam would have said 75 because I was on my way to doing it, and then I would have picked number 1. I wanted to say to you guys when I went to 75, now we only need to look at option 1 and option 4. So very easily one can make a mistake with a sign and get one of the other options. I think that again is very important here, that watch the sign. Also, if you have done it the other way around, but then you would have had made P the subject, then it can be that you get one of the other options if you then used the numbers wrong in the equation. But I'm not going to go that way because I don't want to confuse now. So, but I think it's important again to remember they're asking us, we need to write it in the demand function way. So Q is the subject of the equation. Okay, questions on question 6. Okay, happiness. Let's go to question 9, and this is nearly where you could use that formula of yours. That we talked about here. Where was it? So you can use that formula. I normally first look out of what I remember from maths if I can't factorize that. So we need to say, we basically need to solve that. so we basically need to factorize that equation. When I look at the options, it is quite interesting again, and I think, and if somebody can just check for me in what they said about the exam, but all of your assignment papers, the none of the above has disappeared and you were only given 4 options. So I'm just hoping that from this year in the exam as well, that you're only getting 4 options. So I don't know if somebody can just confirm that for me, or maybe with looking at what is said in your exam pack or something like that as well, because that does create a bit of uncertainty if you have the none of the above, because then you always nearly want to say, if you don't get one of the answers, none of the above, and maybe you made the mistake somewhere. Okay, so in question 7, there is options of where it is integers. So I would rather first want to see if I can factorize before I go to try to work with that function. So how I look at it normally is, okay, so in front of there's a 1, in front of there's a 1. So I know that when I factorize it out, I will factorize it out that I have a x there and a x there. So there will be 1s in front of them. And to get to the 6, it is 3 times 2, or it is 6 times 1. Okay, so basically 3 times 2 will give me the 6, and the 6 times 1 will give me the 6. So then I look at it from my point is that I want to get to a 1 in the middle. So if I say 3 minus 2, I'll get the 1. If I say 6 minus 1, I'll get the 5. Okay, so that for me is not an option, so I will work with the 3 and the 2. So that for me is then the 2 that we're working with. I need to get a plus before the 1, so it is plus the bigger one minus the smaller one. So x plus 3 is equal to 0, or x minus 2 is equal to 0. So x is equal to minus 3 or 2. Or you can say and. It's not any different. So that is option 1. Okay, so you could have used that formula as well, and you would have gotten to the same answer. So there's definitely not a problem if you went straight for that. I was just looking at some of the answers and I thought, okay, let's rather try factorizing, because it felt to me the 2 options that they give there is probably out of one of them, because it's just the sign that is different. Okay, questions on question 7, or are you happy with that? I think the next question is more a question that some of you are looking forward to for me to work out, as I know on the chat there was a lot of talk around this, and if I can't explain some of this instead of just using the tools that are available online. So again, use the websites that are available. We'll share some of those websites again in the next few days on the WhatsApp chat. Yeah, I think use those tools that are available. It is probably the one time that you will have that opportunity is now. So, but let's look at how we would have done this and how I would have approached this. So how I would have looked at this one if I didn't have any tools available was I need to nearly cancel a formula out so that I can get a value first. So I need to nearly get a R, a P, or a Q value. Then I can use that to start substituting into the next formula and getting basically my P, Q, and R. And then I think it's important that also the other thing that they've started doing is just make sure what they ask you to do. They can sometimes ask you also the product of the values or something. So just check and make sure that the whole time we haven't done maybe the sum of the values, and in the exam now suddenly they ask you to work out the product of the values and you still work out the sum, because that is how we nearly worked through it. So just make sure on what they ask. Okay, so let's look at it. How would I have done this? And sometimes it is trial and error how you work it out, but let me see. I've got here P, so there maybe something can cancel out. So what I would have done in this instance is I would have said, I would have started off with saying equation 1 plus equation 2. Then with that, I would have gotten rid of a P. So that is what I would have done. So I would have said, okay, let's add equation 1 with equation 2. So I get rid of the P, so I sit with 2Q, because Q plus Q is 2, 2R plus 2R is 4R, and that is equal to 8, as 8 is equal, 8 plus 0 is equal to 8. So now I'm sitting with a formula 2Q plus 4R is equal to 8. Here I'm sitting with a formula 2Q minus 2R is equal to 2. So I could then say, well, let's make that just 2Q. That would have been 8 minus 4R. So that is still the same formula. I've just written it in a different format. Here I have 2Q is equal to 2 plus 2R. So again, that formula I've just written it in a different way, but it's still exactly the same. So now I have 2Q is equal to that, 2Q is equal to that. So I can say 8 minus 4R is equal to 2 plus 2R. Okay, because 2Q is in both the same. So now I can say that moves over to that side. So 8 minus 2 is 6. That moves over to that side. So it turns into plus 4R. So it is 6R. So R is equal to 1. Okay, so then I have that formula, so I can go back to that original formula. So I would just go back to that original formula. I would put in R. So then I know 2Q minus 2 times 1, because that is, I've replaced R, that is equal to 2. So 2Q minus 2 is equal to 2. So that goes over to that side again. So 2q is equal to 4. We could have used it in that formula as well, because if we added r as 1 in there, we would have gotten 2q is equal to 4 as well. So again, there's lots of formulas that you can put it into, but q is equal to 2. So now we have r, we have q. So I would use that formula, option 2. So that one I would use. So p plus q, which is 2, plus r, which is 2 times 1. That is equal to 0. So we've got p plus 2 plus 2 is equal to 0. So my p will be equal to minus 4. And then they ask us to work out the sum. So minus 4 plus 2 plus 1 is equal to minus 1. And that is then how you would get to that answer. Okay, so that is, well, this one is actually still a short one, just because equation 3 was such a nice one that it automatically only had a q and a r and not all three of them. But that basically is how I would have done it. Yeah. Any questions on that? And basically this is nearly trial and error. You can, or not trial and error, it is, you can use different ways with a formula. So you could have said that you want to say equation 2 plus equation 3. Then you would have seen that the r's also would have disappeared. Then you would have had a p and a q in there, and then you can do the same with equation 2 and 1. You can do something. So it all depends on which equations you use, but in the end you will supposed to be getting to the same answer. Questions on question 8. I think that is because there was a lot of questions on the group chat about these kind of linear equations. So anybody that still wants to ask something, please do. There's no problem in asking that. I think it's important that we understand how to do it, because there will be a question like this in the exam. So it's not even you will get something like this. Okay, everybody happy? Or okay? Okay, let's go to the next question, which for me was, yeah, I was quite a bit, when I looked at it last night, I'm like, phew, okay, this is purely maths, and this is, I can't remember that in any of the assignments there was something like this, but I could be wrong. Definitely not in assignment 3 that I could think of. So this is really testing maths that you didn't even do now. So it would have been some of the previous, nearly your high school, and that could have been years ago. Even if I talk about myself, it was ages ago. So so basically, and there's not even in the formula pages that I've given you tips on doing this. So So this is basically from first principles that we nearly need to work this out. So basically what we need to do is we need to work with a -2 with a top one. We need to work with a 2 with a bottom one, and then we will start cancelling out after that. And how this basically works, it is 3 and it -1 times, or -1, the power of -1 times -2. And then you have, so let's just write this better. And we've got enough space. Then it is a to the power of 4 times -2, and then b to the power of -3 times -2. Okay, and that then divided by 6 to the power of 2. And remember, there it was -1, so if there isn't anything, it is 1. So 1 times 2 will in any case stay 2. A to the power of 2 times 2, b to the power of -1 times 2, and c to the power of -2 times 2. Okay, so that will give us then, and -1 times -2 is, so I'll just write all the steps again. So it's 3 to the power of 2, so -1 times -2 gives you 2. A 4 times -2 gives you -8. And b -3 times -2 gives you +6. So when I looked at that, so let's first do the bottom, and then we'll see how it can cancel out. But then 6 to the power of 2, so let's keep it for now the same. 2 times 2 gives you a to the power of 4. -2 times, -1 times -1 times 2 gives you b to the power of -2. And then c -2 times 2 gives you -4. Okay, so before we even go further, there is still a c in your answer. So if you look at option 1, there's not a c in there, so option 1 is not the answer. If you look at option 2, there's not a c in there, so option 2 is not. Option 3 maybe. Option 4 not. Okay, so then already basically I eliminated, before you even start to simplify it, I basically have gotten it down to option 3. And for now, we don't look at none of the above, but let's just simplify it quickly, and then let's see what the answer would have been. So 3 to the power of 2, so it's 3 times 3 gives you 9. I'm going to do it in conjunction with what's below. 6 to the power of 2, so that is 36. So then a to the power of -8. So I don't want to have negatives at the top. So if I take the negative to the bottom, it becomes a positive. So at the bottom it is 4 plus 8, so it is 12. I don't want negatives at the bottom, so if I take it to the top, I get the positive, so it is 6 plus 2. So basically I have, and then I can say 9 divided by 6 is 4, so it is b to the power of 8, c to the power of 4, divided by 4, a to the power of 12. And that is the answer that we get in option 3. Yeah, so I haven't really seen this in previous exams or anything in some of your assignments, I don't think. So it is it's purely algebra, and that you need to simplify, and nearly need to, from all the work that you've done, you nearly need to remember what the rules are. So, and I think that is important. The rules are, so if it's outside the bracket, you multiply it with it. But if it is where you have the one at top and the one at the bottom, that is actually just a plus function. So I think that is important. When it's outside, there's a multiplication. But if you need to work with something like that, it is just a plus or minus function that you do. So I think that is the important one out of nearly the rules that you need to remember. Okay, everybody fine with that? I think that was a bit of a pure mathematics problem that you're sitting with, and you can nearly have seen out of the answers that you're going to work with C, unless you set the minus 2 plus 2 instead of multiplying by 2, then your C would have disappeared, and then you will probably sit with one of the other answers. Okay, questions on that, or everybody happy? Happiness, I assume. Okay, cool. Let's go to the next question. Yeah, and this was, I looked at this and I'm like, woof, and we have the log rules. So, and yeah, Mohammed, you guys that is on the WhatsApp chat knows who Mohammed is and his method. So what he would have done is he would have said, okay, I'm not going to solve this equation by doing any rules or anything like that. So I'm going to say, if I put in 0.11 into x there and into x there, do I get 7? Yes or no? If I get it, it's the answer. If I don't, I go to the next one. Then you would put in 8.77 into the x there, solve that, put it in there, subtract the 2, and if you get 7, that's the answer that he would pick. So that's as he called it, the Scully way. For this one, I actually would have done the same. I would have, and hopefully then it is with the first or the second answer that you nearly get to the answer. And again, we assume that it is not the none of the above. But obviously, you also want to know how to do it. So let's follow the log rules with this one as well. So the first rule with the log rule is, what do you do with those two? So I think that's the first one that I'm gonna change before I even go into anything else. So remember, if we have that, we can write it as, okay, so that is one of the log rules. So it is then that is equal to 7. Then we've got the rule that says if I've got ln x minus ln y, that answer is ln x divided by y. So that's one of the other rules. So then basically we can say it is ln (5x to the power of 3) divided by, and that is equal to 7. So let's just put that around there as well, or we can also say, let's just simplify that one. So 5 to the power of 3 as well. So let's just okay. Okay, so that is what we have. And then basically the next thing is to say, okay, how do we get, what can we do next? So for me, it is easy to say, okay, well, let's look at this thing first, and that is 125x to the power of 3 divided by x to the power of 2. So we sit with ln 125x, which is equal to 7. So we said the x2, take 2 away from there, so we basically have x to the power of 1 left. So we have ln equal of ln 125x is equal to 7. So now we need to go to the next step. So to get rid of a ln, we need to say e to the power of okay, and then the next step is e to the power of ln, so that basically makes it that we have 125x, and we need to work out what is e to the power of 7. So let me just look at my calculator. E to the power of 7 was actually 109.6.633, and it goes on. So 109.6.633 divided by 125 will give me that I'm sitting with x equal to 8.733, which will give me the 8.77, which is option 2.
Sorry, sir.
Yes, ask.
Would you mind please scrolling up a bit, because I can't see what you're writing at the bottom.
Oh, okay, wait, let's do that. Better or not really?
A bit smaller?
Okay, so let's see if I can just, I'm going to try something else as well.
Yes, that's much better.
Okay, cool.
Thank you,
Okay,
sir.
100%. Obviously, we're at the top now. Some of the things have as merge over one another, but basically we have a 125x equal to the 1096 because it was that. So x is equal to the 1096.663 divided by 125, and then we will get the 8.77. Quite interesting for me was that there was actually that number there. So if one have forgotten about the 125 nearly, and maybe even that divided by 5 would have given you that as well. So if you haven't factorized that 5 to the power, or not factorized, if you haven't said 5 to the power of 3, and you just worked with 5x all the way, that would have been your answer as well. So I think that is just very important, that because it was 5x in brackets, when you work with the Lin rule, it is that 5x that is to the power of 3. If it was like that, we would have just added the 3 there. Then it wouldn't have been the 5 to the power of 3. So again, you need to look at how they use the brackets in the exam, because if it was that, then option 3 would have been your answer. So just important, I think, for me here is what is inside the bracket and how you work with it to get to your answer. Oh, okay, yes, I should have done that. Thanks, Nadia. Oh, and on the other side, yeah, probably if a team's thing is also on, you have that part that is blocking the view. Okay, guys. So Saturday we're going to continue with this, but also please use the WhatsApp chat to post pictures of questions. And for the guys that are not on the WhatsApp chat, send me a WhatsApp on 083 790 8387, and I'll add you to a WhatsApp group. Yes, we are giving lots of tips. I love it that there's some post of other tips and tutorials and videos and things just to make it easier for you. Okay, any quick questions?
Mr. John, will you please just repeat your number? So 083
790
yes
8387. Let me quickly, I'm going to put it in the chat as well. Then you can just send me a WhatsApp.
Thank you.
Okay, so that, yeah, I think the WhatsApp group, as there are a few of the guys that are on the group, it is also a support group, antigen group, and what else. So, yeah, it is not just about DSC. I think it's also the guys are supporting one another as they are writing other exams as well. So, but there is lots of DSC talk in the last few days as we're getting nearer to the exam. But there is lots of information there, and we'll repost some of the things as well. So cool. Okay, guys, we'll chat again on Saturday. It will be 9:30 again. And then, yeah, it's an all-round group, and there's even guys that were last year in that group that is still there because of the moral support that the rest of the student gives as well. And then we will have a session on Monday afternoon as well, just so final prep for your exams on Tuesday. Okay, have a good evening, and we'll chat again on Saturday. Cheers, everyone. I'll stop the recording now as well.
Thanks, John. Cheers.